touched on consultants and advisors. I've always wanted to ask you this question because a lot of people ask me as well, what is the difference between a consultant and an advisor? Are they the same thing?
No, really very different things. We've actually just released a e-learning program around building a portfolio career, because we're getting a lot of people now building portfolio careers, which is great. They don't necessarily understand the difference about being an advisor or a consultant or a contractor or a director, and they are really very different things. The consultant is really someone who their value is what they know, and also maybe what project that they're being involved with. So a lot of consulting roles are 3 to 6 month type of roles, and they provide recommendations, right? So they're saying that what I know is the most important thing, and I recommend this to you. And it may be then you get a contractor that may come in and do the piece of work. So a consultant is different to then a contractor. Very often those two get mixed up, and so I've had the situation myself where I say I need a contractor to do a piece of work. They come in and do the piece of work, and all they want to do is consult to me, and I think, no, I just want that piece of work done. Where it gets problematic though is when someone tries to be an advisor and then sell in a piece of contracting work or consulting work at the back end. That's where sometimes it can work, but sometimes it doesn't. And a lot of business, mainly the business sector, find that really challenging, because they're saying, is that advice from you because it's good for my business, or is it because you're trying to sell me something? And that trust gets undermined because you're second guessing why are you providing that advice to me now. So separating out the role of an advisor to that of a consultant or a contractor, I think it's really important from an ethical point of view, but also from a trust. It's kind of the less that you do, the more valuable you become as an advisor, because you're not there to sell a piece of work. Like people are quite good in selecting employees, but not so discerning when they come to their advisors. They go based on recommendation. Telltale signs for advisors, I think, is important, making sure that you ask the right questions around not only their experience, but what they've been involved with in other organisations, but what they have personally done. So some advisors can be talking about, we did this and we did that as an organisation. It's about asking questions about, what did you do? And getting that absolute experience that they've had skin in the game with. Because if you take someone on as an advisor that's had this large corporate experience, they may not necessarily have been first-hand in the actual initiatives that they're talking about. They're just talking about it. And they may not know the graveyard that sat behind that decision, where, business is tough.
Like skin in the game, that's really interesting. And when you were just explaining that, it reminded me of that Steve Jobs video, where he's making the analogy of any consultants in the room, and they've never eaten the fruit, and he talks about a banana.
No, seriously, I don't think there's anything inherently evil in consulting. I think that without owning something over an extended period of time, like a few years, where one has a chance to take responsibility for one's recommendations, where one has to see one's recommendations through all action stages and accumulate scar tissue for the mistakes and pick oneself up off the ground and dust oneself off, one learns a fraction of what one can. You're coming in and making recommendations and not owning the results, not owning the implementation, I think is a fraction of the value and a fraction of the opportunity to learn and get better. And so what you do get a broad cut at companies, but it's very thin. It's like a picture of I'm a vegetarian, so I won't use steak, but it's like a picture of a banana. You might get a very accurate picture, but it's only two-dimensional. And without the experience of actually doing it, you never get three-dimensional. So you might have a lot of pictures on your walls. You can show it off to your friends. You can say, look, I've worked in bananas, I've worked in peaches, I've worked in grapes, but you never really taste it. And I think that's what I think. You're also a variable expense, and in hard times you find yourself...
Yeah, and it's skin in the game for what, right? So you might have an entrepreneur that's just gone through what you're about to go through as a business owner. They're great. But sometimes you need a C-suite executive that really understands transformation or technology or cybersecurity or whatever it is. You might need a technical specialist that has skin in the game for that. That's what the business needs are. So you've got to be careful about not being a generalist in the way that you look at what skin in the game actually means. Because supporting entrepreneurs can be fantastic, but you could end up having two free-range chickens talking with each other because they love talking about lots of opportunities and things like that. Sometimes you need those that have got skin in the game around business excellence. Where's your business case? All those things to keep you grounded as well. So that's why I think being really clear about what is it you want from those advisors and making sure not only that they've had that experience or that knowledge, but that you look at the way that they think about the future, because none of us have been there. We need to have, I think, different ways of thinking about our businesses in the future. So we don't want everybody to be the same sitting around the table, because otherwise we'll just come up with the same decisions. The advisors are there to problem solve and then to really review the options and to say, if I was to do it, I would do it this way. The business owner is still separating out, saying, but it's still my decision. I need to own that decision. It's not your decision to make. And that's where sometimes the consulting relationship gets challenged, where consultants say, I recommend that you do this. And if a business owner then follows through and implements it and it doesn't work, they say, you told me that I should do that. They don't own that. They don't grow up in that process. So it's about stepping up and owning the problem-solving component to then make a really solid decision